The novel 1984 by George Orwell is a powerful and disturbing story about a world where freedom no longer exists. It takes place in a future society controlled by a totalitarian government. The story follows Winston Smith, a man who begins to question the system he lives in. In this world, the government is led by a mysterious figure known as Big Brother. His face is everywhere, on posters, screens, and even on coins. People are told that Big Brother is watching them all the time. The government uses fear, lies, and violence to control everyone. It is not just about ruling people's actions, it wants to control their thoughts and emotions too. Winston works at the Ministry of Truth, where his job is to change past records and news articles to match the government's version of history. The goal is to make people believe that the government is always right, even when it's not. The world is divided into three superstates: Oceania, Eurasia, and Eastasia. These states are always at war, but the enemy changes. One day, Oceania is at war with Eastasia. The next day, they claim they've always been at war with Eurasia. People are forced to believe this. Winston begins to secretly rebel. He writes in a secret journal, something that is completely illegal. He also starts a relationship with a woman named Julia. Their love is another act of rebellion, because the government wants to control even personal relationships and emotions. They dream of freedom. They believe there is a secret resistance called the Brotherhood that fights against Big Brother. They meet a man named O'Brien who pretends to be part of this resistance. He promises to help them, but he is actually a loyal servant of the government. Eventually, Winston and Julia are caught. They are taken to the Ministry of Love, which is not a place of kindness, but a prison where people are tortured until they completely obey the government. O'Brien tortures Winston and forces him to believe lies. The goal is not just to make Winston say that he loves Big Brother, but to truly feel it inside. The most painful part of Winston's journey is when he is taken to room 101. This room contains each person's worst fear. For Winston, it is rats. Under the fear of torture, he betrays Julia and begs the government to torture her instead. In the end, Winston is no longer the same man. He no longer questions the system. He sits alone in a cafe, drinking and thinking. He looks at a picture of Big Brother and realizes that he now loves him. The government has won. Winston's thoughts, love, and freedom are completely gone. 1984 is not just a story about one man. It is a warning. Orwell wrote this book in 1949 to show what could happen if a government has too much power and if people stop thinking for themselves. Today, many people still read 1984 because it helps us understand the dangers of surveillance, propaganda, and blind obedience. It teaches us to ask questions and value our freedom, even when it feels uncomfortable. If you liked this video, please subscribe and share it with others. We'll be back with more classic stories in simple English. Winston Smith is an ordinary man, not a hero. But he dares to question the system. He wants to love, to remember, and to think freely. He represents the quiet hope inside every human being. Julia is different. She doesn't care about changing the world. She just wants to enjoy life. She represents the body, the small rebellion of personal pleasure. Together, Winston and Julia show two sides of resistance: the heart and the body, the mind and the moment. O'Brien is perhaps the most frightening character in the book. He doesn't just punish Winston, he breaks him. He shows how total power can destroy a person from the inside. He teaches Winston not only to say lies, but to believe them. To love the leader who tortures him. This is the darkest truth of 1984. Real control means changing how people think, forever. In the end, Winston loses. He no longer feels love or truth. He accepts the lies and becomes a shell of the man he was. It's not a happy ending, but it's an honest one. 1984 is a warning, a lesson, and a question. Will we protect our freedom? Will we speak the truth, even when it's hard? George Orwell was not just a writer, he was a political thinker. He wrote 1984 after seeing how dictators used fear and lies during World War II. Through this story, he wanted to warn us, when governments control the truth, they can control everything. Even love, memory, and thought can be destroyed. 1984 is not science fiction. It's a mirror, showing us what can happen when freedom is lost.